Hi there, my name is Brooks from Character Design Forge. There are a lot of learning styles and methods in general, especially when it comes to obtaining and retaining information. But I'd like to talk about the two specific ways that you can improve your drawing skill, and I'll give you my own personal bias as to which one I think is better. These two methods are muscle memory learning and foundational learning. A little while back, Welwius asked this question. I started with general digital art a few weeks ago after 3 years of drawing vectors of one particular fashion. While I made huge progress when I started with those vectors years ago, I find myself making very slow progress, if at all, at general digital art. It takes me ages to come up with a relatively basic sketch, even at my skill level. Now I fear that I'm just not talented enough and will never become as good as I want to be. This fear has led me to not really practice new stuff at all and stick to the stuff that I already can draw, which causes me to progress even slower. I know that I have to practice a lot and try out new stuff, but every time I fail at an attempt to make something new, it gets harder to not just give up. Now, what is crucial to note is that Welwius has spent a lot of time creating one type of artwork. In his case, perfecting the vector shapes of My Little Pony character designs. Now, the answers to his problem is right there, and I'll give you a hint, it has nothing to do with My Little Pony. What he's practicing is our first learning style, which is muscle memory learning. We all used this method as infants. At first, our ability to grip, balance ourselves, to walk, to articulate speech, it was simply underdeveloped. But with repetition and practice, some failures along the way, we viscerally repeated these actions until we were familiar with them. Most functions we're able to do without thinking, because that's how ingrained it is in us. A lot of people will recommend that you learn art this way. Starting at zero with no ability to draw, repetition of the same subject, the same shapes, the same faces, the same methods of creating will eventually cause you to be a better artist. Now, this is technically true, and with a lot of things pertaining to art, we just need to practice to refine our mechanical skills. But, should you be studying one subject, repeating your study of it over and over until you can produce that specific subject? Well, the second method is foundational learning. Basically, this involves a study and understanding of anatomy, perspective, construction, rendering, observation, draftsmanship, all the really big, scary, sometimes boring filling elements of learning art. While this can definitely seem daunting and it seems like we can get by without it, understanding of fundamentals is key for anyone who is serious about art. With a firm understanding of fundamentals, you aren't just able to draw one thing really well. You can draw anything, because you understand how it needs to be made. To illustrate the difference between muscle memory learning and fundamentals, I'm going to use Lego. Now let's use a Lego brick to represent a unit of time. Let's give each of our learning methods 10,000 hours. That's the amount of time generally accepted to be what it takes to become an expert at something. Let's say that this frame represents the range of art that you can make, and hypothetically, if you were able to fill this whole frame, you would unquestionably be the greatest artist in the world. Now, let's give our muscle memory guy some time to practice his art. He wants to create art like one of his favorite artists, let's say a cartoonist. Now, he doesn't really understand why his favorite artist does what he does, he doesn't really understand the decisions that he needs to make, but he can produce a pretty good imitation. As time goes on, he spends more and more time specifically working on cartoons. Eventually, after this relative 10,000 hours, he arrives here, able to produce a pretty good cartoon character. His friend comes up to him and says, "Hey man, I hear you're an artist." Our little guy here, having spent 10,000 hours perfecting his craft, drawing the same things over and over and over and over, says quite confidently, "Yes I am." "Awesome," says his friend. "Can I pay you to draw me a car?" Well, at this point, our little guy has built up his skills in one area specifically. But on the spectrum of artistic range, that car is going to probably be about here. Have you ever felt like you could draw one thing so well, and then just completely fail at something else? I absolutely have. I spent close to 10,000 hours drawing one way and learning very little. You might make the assumption that an artist that can draw a car and an artist that can draw a cartoon character are just two different kinds of artists. But that doesn't need to be the case. Here's why. Here is our foundational learning method. Without rushing through the beginning and taking his time, this little guy begins to build up his fundamental skills. Along with his practice, he's building an understanding for why things are the way that they are. At times, it's boring, it's tedious, it's not coming easy to him. This many hours in, our muscle memory learner was halfway up the frame, but this doesn't discourage our foundational guy. Once he has a fairly good grasp on these concepts, he starts to draw what he likes. He spends more time perfecting specific areas of his learning. He starts to hone in on what he likes to do best. Now his friend comes up to him and says, "I heard you're an artist. Could you draw a car for me?" Now, same as our previous guy, this artist has never drawn a car before. But look where that car lands on his range of skill. The distance for him to grapple to it is a lot closer than it is for our muscle memory artist. When it comes to learning and improving your drawing, realistically, you're going to incorporate both of these learning methods. The foundational method may take longer, it may make you feel like you're not producing what you'd like to as quickly as you'd like to, but it truly does enable you to create anything once you have an understanding of it. Be careful not to fall into a groove of comfort, and break out of that every once in a while. Make sure to question your reasons for doing what you do, and attempt to understand the principles while you're drawing. It's been great to cover this topic of improving your drawing. In the next couple weeks you can expect character design specific videos that I'm very much looking forward to. I'm making new videos every week for Character Design Forge at brooksegggleston.com. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. All this month I've been creating illustrations of characters from the game Animal Crossing on a daily basis. You can keep up with those at @BagelDenizen on Instagram, Twitter, and Dribbble. I've also started to live stream the creation of these illustrations over at twitch.tv/BagelDenizen on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. That is a lot of fun, come and check on it when you can. My downloadable character design survival guide is free when you sign up for the newsletter at brooksegggleston.com. This guide is meant to help you with new or existing character designs. Feel free to check it out. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating.